And now within the recording, I just have to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded, and we'll put it up on Paycom for others to review down the road. And it'll sit up there indefinitely. So I want to welcome everyone to the call, and just to say thank you for coming today. I have two updates, and then I'll be turning it over to Nicolene. First of all, our efforts down at the legislature in St. Paul seem to have paid off. We are getting word from our lobbyist that has been a good increase in the reimbursement rate for all of the service lines that Accurate Home Care has. Different parts have different rates of increase. We will be looking at that, getting the final details from our association and also our law firm. And once we have all of that and we know when those reimbursement rates go into effect, then we'll communicate more about some automatic pay raises for really most of the care providers here, if not all of them. So that would include homemakers, PCAs, private duty nurses, and those who work in home health. The legislature has been passing bills, as you know, left and right over the past 24 hours, and this is kind of the sausage making down at St. Paul. So I'll stop here and see if there's any questions before I move on to the second topic that I have. Okay. Well, I'll move on to the second topic. As many of you, or as all of you know, we've moved from Paylocity to Paycom. That decision was not made lightly. In my 5 years, almost 5.5 years now that I've been here, we were on ADP for payroll anyways. And then we moved to Paylocity, and now we've moved to Paycom. For a larger, broader HRIS system, including recruiting, we went ADP, iCIMS, to Paylocity, and now to Paycom. The reason for the moves were not done lightly, but the core reason for the moves were all about us being able to be compliant. And I'll just stop here and say we are recording this. And so for those of you who are just now joining, this is being recorded and will be placed up on Paycom for everyone to watch down the road. But the reasons that we moved was mainly around compliance and the fact that the longer that we stayed with Paylocity, our experience was the more they implemented feature updates, the more things got broken. And so between us not being able to be compliant in the Paylocity system with our performance reviews and them continually breaking things that actually created a lot more workarounds for us and a lot more work for the large segment of our staff here in Otsego, I made the decision to move to Paycom. Is Paycom perfect? No. No HRIS system is. But is it better? Yes. It's head and shoulders better in some very key areas for us. So I just wanted to explain that was the reason why we moved to Paycom, and I'll entertain any questions or thoughts on that. All right. So I've covered a couple of things. Nicolene, is there anything that you would like to discuss?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today. And I think just one point, and I apologize if you said this, Bill, but if you did, I didn't hear it. The rate increases, which are very exciting and very much deserved for home care services with the state of Minnesota, they are slated to go into effect on January 1st. So we are a little ways out from these things, but nonetheless, it's coming, and we'll have plenty of time to plan for that. But that's when the actual change in reimbursement is coming. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on real quickly is COVID, that we've been talking about for just over 3 years now, right? And COVID has been officially declared over, and yet it's it's not exactly really over. So please just keep in mind, I have sent communication on that. I did hear from a couple people that it went to spam. I apologize. There's not, of course, not much that I can do about that. I did send it from my email personally in a couple different groups since it was to a large audience, but I sent that a couple of weeks ago now, some COVID updates. And so what you need to know is there's really no change in terms of if you are feeling sick, you still need to call into Accurate and we'll still do the screening for COVID. If you do have COVID, if you're positive for COVID, then you're still out of work for at least 7 days. If you have an exposure to COVID, a high risk exposure, there are some criteria to follow for that as well. So just keep in mind. I think for the vast majority of people, COVID is not a real big deal, right? It's kind of a cold and people move through it okay. But our patient population is not always the same story. And we do bear the responsibility of keeping our patients' homes, havens of health and not bringing in any sort of germs or infection that we don't need to. So just keep that in mind and please do continue to follow those protocols. In addition to that, in terms of talking about PPE, personal protective equipment, masks and things like that. So for individuals who were vaccinated and have not been wearing masks for a while, you still don't need to wear those masks. For individuals who are unvaccinated and had been granted an exemption to the vaccine mandate, previously you've been required to wear an N95 mask at all times. So the update to that is that you may wear a regular medical grade face mask provided by Accurate Home Care at all times. So we do anticipate that there will be a change to that. CMS actually said, or CDC said, one of them said, pick some letters. They said that the vaccine mandate would actually be dropped, but they also said, we'll send out more information about that. So the public health emergency ended about 10 days ago, and now we just anxiously await the likely removal of the vaccine mandate. And it's our hope that at that point we would be able to end those additional restrictions for individuals who have the vaccine exemptions. So unfortunately, not a huge change, but that's where we're at right now. At least we get to step down from the N95s to the regular medical grade face masks for those individuals who are unvaccinated. Finally, if you are working with a patient who becomes COVID positive, we have previously been operating under the approach of just adding in a mask, gown, and gloves, and continuing to provide care. The CDC now has placed more stringent recommendations upon that and has said that if you are working with a COVID positive patient, you should be using an N95 mask. An N95 mask has to be fitted by a clinical manager once per year. So that's something that we're working through as well. Typically for that, we just work through it on a case-by-case basis. If your patient gets COVID and you want to continue working, then we will get you fit tested and get you some N95 so that you can continue to do so safely. I won't try to understand why these recommendations have changed, but that's where we're at. So do you have any questions for me regarding COVID or anything clinical? All right. I don't see anybody hitting their unmute button. So if you do think of anything, I bet you know how to reach out to us, but you could also use the chat feature within this meeting as well. Bill, I don't think that I have any further updates.
Okay. So what I will do then, thank you, Nicolene. What I will do then is just open the floor to anyone who would like to ask a question of any type about any topic or make a comment. The time is yours to dialogue with Nicolene and I as you would like. And of course, you'll need to unmute before you start talking. So Jonathan, you need to unmute. Let me see if I can unmute you.
I can do it.
There you go.
What's that? Paycom also on the web, or can you use it on your computer?
Paycom is web-based. You can access it through your computer, and you can also access it through your phone.
Okay.
So you should have received instructions on how to access it. So I would just ask that you check your emails.
Okay.
And if you're unable to find it, just call into HR and they'll be able to assist you.
All right. Thank you.
You bet, no worries. Other questions or comments of any type? All right, well, hearing none, I'm sorry that we just had a person who just joined and we're just now signing off on this. But thank you all for coming today. And I'm not sure who just joined, but do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask us before we end?
I'm so sorry I missed. This is Barbara Jensen, formerly Sandine, and I had a call came through that I couldn't get out of. So I'll just have to watch for emails of updates of what I missed. Thanks, everyone.
Well, Barbara, we'll be putting this up on the internal portal for Accurate Home Care employees in Paycom. So you'll be able to watch this. And,
All right. Thank you.
at your leisure. So, well, thank you everyone for coming. If there's anything I can do for you, I'm Bill English, the CEO here at Accurate Home Care. I'm always happy to hear from you by email or by phone and to talk with you. But until we do this again in another quarter, I hope that things go really well for you. And I hope that all your patients are wonderful and that I know your care is going to be outstanding because we have outstanding care providers. So get a hold of Nicolene or I if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for coming today. You all have a good day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.